All right. Great. Excellent. I think that's going now. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for those who were able to make it. Really appreciate your time this evening. Really, the one agenda item that we have in store for you all is this really an update on the steering committee request to have time with the draft content. And the good news is we are ready to hand over to you all the draft plan. And so we have it in the tool that for those of you who were in the meeting a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned that the city has migrated to using this tool, this online platform called Conveo. And it's a way for us to not only share information outward, but it has a built-in functionality to capture comments. And so we've used this on two previous plans. The East and East Central plans are two most recent neighborhood planning initiative plans that were adopted. I guess it's now October of 2020. Um, and other departments within the city are also beginning to use and explore this tool. So for anyone that's involved in the citywide Denver Moves Everyone transportation plan update, uh, the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure is also using this platform to collect community feedback and responses to the material that they're producing in that department. So we too are using that in planning services and want to use it to capture comments from the steering committee. For those who will be able to use the tool, one of the benefits is not only does it capture your comments in real time, but gives us a way to see, and we can print things out and kind of have a record of what you all say and feel and your thoughts and reactions to the plan. But also, it is a way for you to each see each other's comments. So it might be helpful. I know that when we last met with some of you, there was conversation about those of you who may review the plan on your own individually. You may want to get together with a couple of members of the steering committee, perhaps from your neighborhood. And I know that there have been some small subgroups that have met on particular topics over the last 2 years. So if those groups are sort of intact and you would like to come together and sort of review material, that's another way of doing it. But what we think is an advantage to this is whether you are reviewing the document and its contents on your own or doing it in a group setting, you still can see what others are saying and thinking about the material if they leave a comment. And there's also the opportunity to even have a dialogue within the commenting tool itself. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and do a quick screen share. Uh, there's a couple of things. I did ask for a couple of modifications to the interface. So you'll see it here say public review draft, but I promise you this has not gone live. And the only way that you can actually access the site is through the link, which I'm going to put in the chat right now. And so I would really like to ask you all to really keep the link within this group so that we can really hear what your thoughts are, get your reactions to the material prior to it actually going live. So again, the only way that you can get to this page is through this direct link. And now let me show you the page. And I might sneeze, so I might go on mute for just a quick second. Let's see here. All right. And so we have this built in an interface that looks much like what we would produce for a website. But again, as I've now said probably twice, this is not a live page. So you can really only see it through direct access through the link. The tool is pretty straightforward to use. So one can download the full document. If you click on this link, you'll get directed. Now, my browser is set up to download PDFs within a browser window. And so I did this a moment ago. It takes a few minutes, and your one's ability to download the file will be dependent upon your hardware, your computer or laptop, also your internet connection. So we recognize that that's different for different users. We have had conversations with the council offices, and I think that we will be producing some printed copies. And Katie, I don't want to speak for you, but I do believe that we had discussed some key locations within the community where hard copies might be placed. And so I don't know if you would want to speak to that or not, but I believe we were looking at the 2 libraries, also our rec center, and a few other locations where one might be able to come and actually see a hard printed copy. And of course, if there are members of the steering committee that would also like to have a printed copy and would like to arrange details with us on how to get one to you, just please let us know and we can make arrangements to make that to meet that need.
Yeah. Sorry, Eugene. All of that is right. I have my camera off because I'm having a little snack. Yes, Councilwoman Torres is happy to provide a hard copy to any or all of the steering committee members. And then yes, that list of community locations is right, but that will be obviously once it's released to the broader public. Just because we recognize, sometimes looking at it on paper is easier.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. So just wanted to show you what the interface may look like for those of you who do look at it through the PDF. But the key thing, and getting back to the link in the linked page, there are 2 ways to submit comments. And there's a general submission. So for those of you who may want to just like take in the document and provide general comments, there's an opportunity to do that. But then there's also a way to enter comments on the actual pages themselves. So hopefully we've caught all the typos and grammatical issues, but for those of you who are really keen editors, we're not perfect, we're human. So if you see something that's misspelled, or if there's a phrase or a terminology that's used that maybe you're not familiar with and you would like to ask us more about that, you can actually put comments on the individual pages themselves. And I'll go through and do a quick demonstration of that here in a second. So because of the file size, and we have lots of graphics and charts and maps, things of that nature in this document, it's a pretty large file size. It's about 48 megabytes if you do decide to download a copy for yourself. And therefore, the platform required us to break it into pieces. So right here in this section, you'll see drop down. And so the sections are as follows. For those who can see the screen, we have a section for the introduction, which is really, as the name would suggest, it's just sort of a quick introduction to the project area, give some orientation in the Denver, in the county, folks that have been involved in this process with us. So you'll see that there. Then if you want to jump to a particular section, you simply just use the drop down and the window will load that page for you. And so you can jump right to a particular section. And this is also important too, because again, recognizing the length of this document, you may want to, just take it in different stages. And so this would be a way for you to really kind of take some time, go through perhaps a section at a time, adding your comments or your thoughts, and allow you to go right back to particular sections. So that's a way that you can navigate through the key components of the plan. As we've sort of talked about really from the very beginning of how the plan is organized. And you'll see here in this middle section sort of a page count. So I believe you can jump to a page, so you can kind of scroll through. So again, if you're making comments and you're like, oh yeah, I think I left off on page 6, you can just toggle through to that page and pick up where you left off. There is this search feature, so if you would like to search for a particular word or phrase, I think that's another way of navigating through the different sections of the plan. And then making comments. So I'll go back to the beginning just to give a quick demonstration of how you enter comments. So you may want to read a section, kind of take it in, and then if there's a comment you'd like to add, you simply click on this comment button. It will give you, and let me do that again just so you can see. It'll give you the opportunity to add a comment. So if there's a particular image or sentence, you can simply, you'll see the plus sign there. Hopefully you all can see that. And so you can just place that somewhere on the document. Just place it here. It'll bring up this pop-up box so you can enter your name, your email address. I'll put in my work email and you enter that comment. If you believe that it sort of is either a question that you have that you would like to learn more about, or if it's a suggestion, or just really however if you feel that these two options are ways that you would want to categorize your question, you certainly can do that. And so the comment here is what will be seen. We do ask for folks to just sign off that they've read terms and conditions, and then say that you're not a robot, and then you simply add your comment. And it shows up there. So I can hide the comment and you'll see that it's here. The little icon for the comment is present, and I can go through that process and add as many comments as needed. And then if someone's like, I wonder who entered a comment, in this case, I listed as a suggestion. So you can see that I entered the comment, the time that I entered it, what the comment is. You can sort of upvote or downvote a comment, or even respond to that comment. Oh, I might have to see exactly what that's doing. Oh, there's a reply button. Sorry about that. And so again, I can respond to my previous comment. Fine. And I'll leave it at none this time. Go ahead and click and hit reply, and you'll see there how it's sort of nested underneath the original. So that's just another way for those of you who, again, may want to review either sections together or, respond on behalf of your neighborhood or an organization. There can be that sort of running dialogue. And then you can move that out of the way, and you'll see here that there are now 2 comments related to that submission. So I'm going to pause. For those of you who are familiar with Teams, you may know that when you screen share, everybody shrinks. So I can't see anyone. So I'm going to just pause there and probably unshare just so I can see if there are any comments or questions related to the demonstration. All right. Heidi, thank you for joining us. I don't know when you joined in. Hopefully you got to see that overview.
I did not.
Okay, well, I'll walk through it again for anyone that may have missed it. So for those who did see, are there any kind of questions or things that I can answer for you? All right, I'm not hearing any.
I was wondering, Eugene, and I don't know how that's going to work in terms of when and that's kind of what we asked for, what Kathy asked for, was to keep it internal, not give it out to the public. So I guess we could share it among all the the steering committee members. Well, I guess you're gonna send it out to them, to us. And there's some people that are kind of on the steering committee or steering committee friendly, but I guess we'll have to figure that out for ourselves. But just don't send it to the random public and have the public all confused. We'll try to keep it internal and among our group. I mean, we're not trying to be sinister, but that's kind of what we kind of agreed to, I guess, what we plan to do. So I guess we'll try to police that between yourself and us and figure out a best way to do that, I guess.
Yeah, when I send out a follow-up, and I'll try to write out those instructions. They're pretty straightforward, and I'll go over that again, Heidi, so you can see it, or anyone else that may have just joined. I will look at the list because you're right, Sean. We have had a rather broad email distribution list. So before I send this out, and because I get to do that on my end, I'll go through the list and make sure that it's really folks that have been engaged and the representatives of the community that receive the link. And so for the most part, it's been folks that have been engaged or a part of this process, but I will go through that list again. And I can share with you all who I send it to. So if you see someone that's not listed, that you feel ought to be included, because I know, over the last 2 years, there have been folks that have moved out of the neighborhood, have taken different jobs. And so I know our representation has changed over the last 24 months. So I'll write out, because usually when I try to send things out to you all, I try to add everyone as a BCC, as not to share everyone's personal information broadly. But I can put in like who the distribution list consists of. Be happy to do that. All right, so I'll do one more quick overview for anyone that was just joining us. And again, if you didn't hear, and now we'll get to timing and scheduling here in a second, but we are giving you all the vast majority of the plan content in its draft form per your request. And the access to this document, while it looks as if it's on a public facing page, it is not on a public facing page. You can only access this information through the direct link, which was entered into the chat. Let me see if I can put it in again. Yeah, I think this is it. So again, this is not publicly accessible or released. We really believe in respecting and honoring your request to have time with the document first. And so for those who were in the conversation a couple of weeks ago, I was able to go back and talk with the management team, and we are adding about 3 weeks or so to the schedule, which I'll get to that here in just a second, because I'd love for all of us to kind of go back and revisit what timing might look like. Also, for those who were at our last meeting, you might recall that to avoid conflicts with the West Denver Renaissance Collaborative, we are not going to hold our monthly meeting on the third Tuesday. So I have a proposal on how we can continue to meet in April, but avoid that conflict with the WDRC meeting, which I know their April meeting is one that's really important to the members who are involved with WDRC. So I'm going to go through and do one more tutorial, and then we can discuss timing and next steps. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share again. And so this is, again, I'm going to just repeat myself. So for those of you who have heard this, I'll try to make it quick. So we are using a document review platform called Conveo. And Conveo is a tool that we've used on previous plans most recently for the Neighborhood Planning Initiative, and other agencies are beginning to use this tool as well. So for anyone that's involved in the Denver Moves Everyone transportation plan update that is taking place through the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, you might have seen a version of this tool. But we are going to use it as our way of collecting your input and feedback as members of the steering committee. And then once we have had some time to do that, this will be the same platform that we are intending to use for the public review. So there is an opportunity to download the full document using this link here for anyone who would like to just have a copy on hand. And when you do click on that link, depending on how your browser is set up, it may download the full document within a browser window, or it might download it as a separate document. But you can see the full plan in its entirety as a PDF, should you decide to download it. But please note that if you do download it and you make comments on the PDF, they will not be automatically captured by the Conveo tool. For us to capture your comments and have them a part of this platform, you will need to enter your comments through the Conveo page, through the link, the direct link that has been provided in the chat. And so because of the file size of the document, we have uploaded it in sort of parts. So we have the introduction, we have a section for land use and economy, mobility, quality of life, and then those larger conceptual ideas in the neighborhood chapters that we've talked to you previously about. So those are ways that you can navigate to particular sections of the draft. You can also use the sort of next page feature if you are reviewing a section and you take a break, or you start on a Tuesday and you want to pick up where you left off on a Thursday. There's ways for you to navigate through the document that way. Or if you want to search for any particular keywords, there's a way to do that as well. And so when you go to enter a comment, you'll click on the comment tag there. It'll bring up this icon that has a plus symbol in it, and it looks like a little bubble. You can really place that anywhere on the page. I would suggest not covering up text, just so folks can kind of continue to see what's underneath. So you click with your mouse to place the comment bubble, and it brings up this dialog box where you can enter your name and your email address, and then you can enter your comment. And if you want to offer a suggestion, there's a way to flag that as such, or if you have a question about something that you would like us to sort of respond to, or questions amongst yourselves as you are reviewing the document, there are ways to note what kind of comment you're entering. And then you simply, well, you have to scroll. Oh, I think because I already said that I was a real person and then I read the terms, I think it's not asking for that a second time. So now I can just add the comment. Oh, my captcha wasn't correct. There we go. There we go. So now you will see that the comment has been entered. And for anyone that wants to agree with the comment entered, you can click on that. You can change your vote. And then simply you can close it or hide it. And you'll see right there, excuse me, that comment has been added to that particular spot. And to see what other folks have entered, you can click on their comments and see what other folks have said about either a page or something that has been entered. And so you can scroll through and add comments. You'll see there that my icon is still highlighted. So it's a way of going through the document. And so I'm going to pause again and unshare just so I can see all of your faces. and see if there are any questions. All right. Any questions? I'm not seeing any at the moment.
So I have a Mac, and if this is similar, I just pulled it up, and so I can't see the questionnaire on. I had to go into Chrome in order to do that, and I remember this from the Dottie one. And then just curious, once we enter our email and we identify ourselves as human, then we don't have to enter that again. We can just go ahead and comment and add comment.
Yes, as long as you haven't sort of exited the commenting process, I think it'll allow you to continue to add comments. But if you click out and come back in, it might ask you to sort of re-verify yourself.
Thank you.
And again, for anyone that may not have caught it at the beginning, we are not right now, but when we get to the public review portion of this process, our council members have offered to print hard copies and to make those available at our libraries and our rec centers. So not necessarily for the steering committee process, because again, we really want to make sure that you all keep this amongst yourselves. However, if there are steering committee members that need or would prefer to have a hard copy and either don't want to print 287 pages, we can provide hard copies to you. Just let us know and we can figure out the best way to get a hard copy to you. But again, just know that to get the comment sort of logged into this system, going through this link, and entering the comment that way for those who have the ability to do so is the preferred method for capturing your information. So I wanted to pivot to timing. Again, some of you we were able to meet with a couple of weeks ago and look at the calendar. And we really took your recommendations to heart, and we're able to go back and secure some additional time so that you all, the steering committee members, had time to review this before it goes to the general public. And so what I'm hoping we can do is sort of nail down what that timing looks like. Today is Tuesday the 15th. I know that some of you had asked to have a week or two either on your own or within smaller groups, or maybe organized by neighborhood or by subject that's contained in the plan. And we're really hoping that we can ask you to see if it's possible to conduct that review in the next 2 weeks, and then possibly the last week in March, if you would like to hold a meeting with us to share and have a conversation around what your feedback and your comments are. Would like to look to potentially sometime that particular week to see if we could facilitate that kind of conversation. I know initially there was some conversation around possibly doing this on Saturday, April 2nd, coming together. I believe Councilwoman Torres offered to help facilitate finding a location if need be. And then if that timing still works generally, and we could have a conversation around just initial thoughts and reactions, reflections on the material, then I'd like to propose having our April steering committee meeting be the following week. So in what that looks like is potentially reserving Tuesday the 5th, if that would work for the majority of you all. And that way we can maybe have a couple of days, hear what your thoughts are, and then come back and have a more formal steering committee meeting where we can then talk about whatever those comments might be. So just a suggestion, but really wanted to kind of propose that schedule. And that would give you all about that 3 to 4 week time frame that we discussed a couple of weeks ago. Yvonne, thank you for your patience.
No problem. Thank you. This looks like an awesome document. This might be a dumb question, but let's say I'm in the document and something speaks to me, and so I make a comment, but then as I keep reading, the comment that I made is addressed. And so now I want to remove my comment prior to finding out that it was discussed later on in the document. Is there a way to go back and take out my comment?
That is a great question. And I don't know if I asked that question. So I'm actually looking here to see if I can delete my entry. And I'm not seeing a way to delete a comment. So maybe we can figure out a protocol for that. But although I entered these test messages or these test comments, I'm not seeing a way for me to delete it.
Okay, well, maybe I could just, in the next comment, say, this.
Never mind.
Yeah. Rescind my first comment or something. Anyway, I just, because I tend to get focused on something and then I don't let it go. And so I want to be able to, if I do run into the answer, I don't want to cause you a bunch of trouble. I'll just say I rescind my initial comment or something.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for that. That's a great question. And I'll look into that to see if there's a way that I'm just not seeing here, but there's no obvious way to delete an entry.
And maybe to help that, since we can reply to those comments, maybe that's the time or place, like ignore the comment or whatever, since we can reply to it, there's that option as well.
That's correct. So really, that's this evening's agenda. We really were excited to get to this really critical milestone and really wanted to make sure that you all knew that we were ready to hand this over to you and put it in your care, and to show you quickly how this tool works. And really didn't want to try to add anything else to tonight's agenda because our ask of you is such a big one, to really take some time to get into actually seeing the real document. It's like it's real. So really excited to have met this milestone. Heidi.
Yes, so I noticed that there's a meeting and I have it on my calendar tomorrow for the planning board. So this is going to be presented tomorrow and we should listen in if we can, or like what's tomorrow look like?
Thank you for bringing that up. So tomorrow we are going to planning board just to give them an informational item. So we will not be going into this document. That we will, let them know that it exists. We will let them know that you all are in possession of it to do your review, but that it is not public yet, and they will not be receiving a copy of it. Because again, we really wanted to do what we could to honor the request of this committee to be the first to see it outside of the very closed circle of the city. So you all are you're the first ones to see it, who aren't city staff members. And so there will be some slides that sort of speak to recommendations, at least draft, in their draft form, about how we have conducted engagement, how we've done some intentional engagement with key populations within the West, and how that input and feedback guided the creation of recommendations. So you'll see, if for those of you who may tune in, you'll see examples of that, but not full on, here's the plan, tell us what you think, because you all are doing that first. So this is, we have like 10 minutes. And so it'll be a pretty quick update just to let the existing planning board members have an update. And for those who are new planning board members, they might be hearing about this for the very first time. So once we have gone through your review and begin the public review process, we will at that point let them know that it exists because they are members of the public. And then when we respond to feedback and comments that we receive, those that we can respond to later in the summer, assuming that the second iteration of this document is ready for that step in the process, there will be a version that will go to planning board for them to actually act upon. But we don't anticipate that until June at the earliest, but probably more like July, to make sure that there's ample time for not only the review process, but for us to make any substantive changes that might be required.
So then they won't see it until after our process and then the public's process.
Correct. They may see it during the public process, but
Right,
they will
right.
see it after you
But
all.
they won't be doing anything. Yeah, okay.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I appreciate that we get to, that we get to have time with it. That's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was really important. I really, the team and the city, the managers and supervisors within planning services, it's always that tension and balance of, come on, get it done, because we've got others waiting in the wings. And we want to make sure that we do you all right. And I heard you very clearly when you guys made a very compelling and legitimate request. And so we took that back, and everyone was like, yeah, we can create that time. So we absolutely wanted to do that for you. All right, well, are there any other questions that we can address for you? Oh, Katie.
Not a question, but just wanted to reiterate what you said, that the councilwoman is still very happy to support you all in meeting however you'd like to. So if you need meeting space, if you need sustenance, please just let me know, and we're happy to arrange all of that.
And I know that not all of the steering committee members are present this evening, so maybe those of you who are here, you may not feel comfortable committing to dates without consulting with the other members. But if you would, and I will put this again in writing and send this out tomorrow. But if that timing sounds as if it can work, would love to try to get some, if you want us present in that week 3, or if we want to look to schedule our April meeting early, I'd love to kind of nail that down just so that we can put holds on our calendars and everyone do the planning needed to make that happen. But I will follow up and tomorrow with an email outlining what we covered tonight, the proposed schedule. And then for those of you who might be in touch with members who just aren't present this evening, if you could help us facilitate responses, that would be really, really great. All right. Well, it's a beautiful day. We got an extra hour of sunshine and it's warm outside, so I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary. But just really, I'm just so grateful for such a dedicated group and community members, and just really thank you for your time. And thank you for hanging in there with us through a pandemic to get to this really exciting milestone. So thank you very much. All right. Have a good evening, everyone.